Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Thank you so much for joining me again. We're back in the workshop. I hope you've had a lovely Christmas and thank you for all the support from the previous few videos. It's so nice to see how keen you all are to follow along with the process with the workshop. And I'm standing here now in a completely empty, soon-to-be machine shop. The concrete is dry enough for me to walk on it, but I have to wait that 28 days for it to actually cure and dry properly before I can seal it and think about putting any serious weight on it, which is so difficult. All I want to do is just put my lathe, my mill and the drill and my cabinets with all of the Ranelagh parts and start getting everything and unpacking everything and laying it all out. I've even got just picked up a new workbench, which I got from Facebook Marketplace. I'm starting to kind of piece together bits and bobs, but I can't put anything on this floor yet. Hence the title of this video, I need to distract myself. So I thought what the perfect opportunity to tick off some of the jobs which have been lingering around here for a while and not to do with building. So the first job is this trough. I found this on, again, Facebook Marketplace. Whilst I was on a tour for Make It at Market, there is, if you're not aware, Make It at Market is a TV show that I filmed for the BBC. And obviously, every different town and village that I went to, I would have to update my Facebook Marketplace search and scour that area. And this beautiful, bit huge cast iron trough popped up. It was incredibly cheap, seemed far too good to be true. It was just down the road from where I was staying. I had an empty van. You know what's going to happen. But it was cheap. It was advertised as damaged, and it was cheap for a reason. The whole side, one end of it, has cracked. I don't think it's cracked completely off, but it's pretty much well on the way to being snapped and cracked in two. It's been sort of repaired in the field a few times before. There's bits of silicone, bits of filler and smears all over the cracks, which is really letting it down. So the first job of the day is to get this on the bench. I'm going to give it a good clean up, assess the damage of the crack, and see if we can weld it back up. It's a bit of a challenge to weld it back up and see if it can hold water once again, because, you know, could be a good bath for Wendy. She could do some laps in there, couldn't she, up and down? A bit of swimming training for her. We've also got a few other treats. We've got the tractor, the BMC Mini, which I know a lot of you love, and my black Defender, but it needs a little bit of love. So we'll get onto that as well, and you know there's going to be other stuff. Hopefully, I'm still plugging away, still trying to get windows finished. So this is a video of distractions to try and stop me from putting anything heavy on that floor until it's dry. I hope you enjoy it. I'm using the wire wheel on the angle grinder to remove any of the old filler and moss and dirt and silicone and whatever's in there. You can see it's done a lovely job of removing all of that off the surface, but inside the crack, there is still some dirt, some bits of filler, and it's a bit of a mess inside, and that won't weld. None of that. When I start introducing some heat with the welder, all of that is going to either catch fire, try and burn, and contaminate the weld, and it's just not going to work. So we're going to have to cut down where this crack is, which seems a bit counterproductive. It's going to get worse before it gets better. This crack is going to get a lot bigger because I'm going to have to almost put the cutting disc in the crack and actually cut through the trough to make sure that inside and the thickness of the cast iron is nice and clean. Essentially sort of creating like a V, but really I'm sort of cutting through. This is the smallest crack on the entire trough. The other side is a lot worse, but I'm just starting with the easy one. Let's be honest. I'm going to get a feel for the material, see what this actually welds like, get a bit of a feel for how it reacts and how it behaves with the smaller one. The other side is a lot worse, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now I've got the cracked area ground down and nice and clean and looking like clean, shiny metal. Next thing is heat. I need to warm up the whole end of this trough and get it nice and warm. Quite hot, to be honest. And the size of this trough means that it's going to suck the heat out. So I've got my oxyacetylene set with a sort of big tip, which is going to spread a nice soft heat over the whole lot, warm up the whole area. The heat will clean out the area, any bits of filler or anything like that that's left in the crack. The heat will help to get rid of that. Any oil will come to the surface and I can give it another clean afterwards. So the heat is going to help clean it. And also the cast iron moves when it heats up. And if you're welding, when you weld it, you're obviously introducing a huge amount of heat to a very small condensed area. All I'm saying is this is the way I do it. I'm not saying this is the textbook way to do it. It works for me. And I just want my trough to hold water. So let's see what happens, shall we? So it's now up to temperature. I need to act quite quickly because the rest of the cast iron is going to suck that heat away. I'm going to get a little bit of weld at the top on this lip. It's an easier place to get to, and it's going to actually lock that weld in place. And hopefully, so I get a little one at the top where the material is the thinnest because that will be the hottest, this little lip at the top. And then as I work my way down, the area is going to get hotter from me welding, which will then heat the rest of the material. I need to get welding, sorry. You literally never know how well welding cast iron is going to go. Sometimes it welds really nicely and it's nice and clean and there's no problems at all, almost like welding a piece of steel. Sometimes, and in this case, it doesn't go quite to plan. So I'm flipping it up on its side to give me a better chance to do a horizontal weld as opposed to a vertical weld. It's just a bit easier. This cast iron just seems to be very dirty, and as I'm heating it up with the welding torch, it's just sort of spitting and spluttering. But I'm trying to just weld a tiny section. When it starts to get contaminated with dirt, stop, grind it out, and then try again. Try and weld another little section, just slow and steady. But you can see all of these sort of sparks and spluttery bits coming off. That is just dirt and contamination and just who knows what in the material, in the cast iron. It's really not very nice. Very slow process. A lot of welding, then grinding back down, and then welding again. This is turning into a bigger job than I was expecting. Right, I've managed to get it welded up on the outside, and I've rolled it over, and now I'm trying to keep heat in it. If the temperature changes too drastically, too quickly, that's when you start getting problems. So I'm trying to keep this heat on it, warming up the area again before I start welding up. I'm going to do the same again and weld up the inside. And the weld on the inside will meet the weld on the outside through the thickness of the material. And that should lock it in place. I still need to be very careful and keep it as warm as I can, which is difficult when there's no doors and hardly any windows on the workshop and the wind blowing through. So I'm going to try and weld the inside now. Well, it took a good 15-20 minutes of warming it up with the blowtorch, letting it cool very, very slowly, just kind of gradually sneaking away the blowtorch. But I'm very pleased to say that that corner is now cool. I can touch it, it's, you know, cool to the touch. It's relaxed, more relaxed than me. And now that corner, just like that, is now nice and strong again. I need to grind that weld down so it doesn't look quite so ugly, clean it up and dress it a little bit. But that is going to have to wait for the morning, because as you can see outside, it is pitch black. Now I've got these lights in here, I completely lose track of time. And I think it might be time for dinner and bed. So we'll carry on in the morning, try and get that cleaned up, and then have a look at the old repair on the other side, which is really quite bad. I'm not sure what we're going to find underneath all of that silicone, but it doesn't look good. If we can get that fixed, then Wendy is very close to having her bath. Good morning. Look at this weather. The sun is shining, it's nice and still, there's no wind at all, no rain, thankfully. Things can actually start to try and dry out. This is very good news, but I'm gonna have to hold on welding up the rest of that trough, because this weather is, this is the first clear, calm day I've had in weeks, and I've left one of the last clear panel on the roof loose all this time because I've not dared go up there because it's been so windy. So the distractions are going to have to wait, because now I've got a distraction to distract me from the distractions. I'm going to go up on the roof. I'm on my own this time, which is slightly terrifying, but I'll be careful. It's a nice, calm, clear day, so there's, you know, what could possibly go wrong? I've just got that last clear panel to get some bolts in and actually fix down in place. It's up there, it's in place, it's just only got 2 bolts instead of the 6 that it needs. So I'm going to clamber up on the roof, get that last window panel fixed in place. I promise I'll be careful, and then we can carry on with the distractions.
As you can see, the window is already in place. It just needs a few more bolts to actually hold it in place. These bolts are all very specific for roofing, and they've kind of got a hook on the end which goes through and hooks onto the concrete beam underneath. Then all I'm doing is getting that in position, sliding on a washer which makes it watertight, screwing on a nut which then locks that down and seals it against the roof. There's a bit too much thread sticking out the top, so that gets chopped off with an angle grinder down to the right height, and then there's a little rubber hat that gets pushed on top of that, and that makes it all watertight.
I am very pleased to say that I've made it down from the roof, and there were 4 or 5 holes where their bolts had fallen off, and the little odd bits where there were little gaps. That window is now fixed in place, and a few more of the little gaps are now filled in. I'm very pleased to say I'm back down on the ground and not up on that roof anymore. I really don't like going up there. But that's done. So I've ground down the weld and sort of cleaned it up on the outside. I've got, what I would typically normally do is I've got like a pneumatic needle gun, which sort of vibrates along sort of needle, like hard metal needles, and vibrates and shakes and kind of dimples and textures the surface. That would blend it in with the sort of rough, rusty, pitted texture that's on the rest of it. If I can find it, I'll do it. I have no idea where it is because everything is still packed up in boxes, but it will go rusty in a matter of hours here. So I'm not too fussed about the sort of shiny, smooth finish. If I can find my needle gun, I'll use it. But hey, now that side is dealt with and done. As I ground it down, partly for aesthetics to make it look nicer, but also just to see, cut through the top of the weld to actually see if there's any major cracks or anything like that in the weld. But it looks good. I'm confident it will hold water. Anyway, we'll have to find out. Now I'm going to move on to the other side of the trough, grind down the silicone and the filler on that side and see what we're actually working with. I realise this may not be that exciting, but bear with me, stick with us. We're going to get to the more exciting stuff very soon in the video. We're going to drag the tractor out and get the Defender in here, and I may even pull out a couple of the motorbikes to, you know, see if they'll still fire up. So stay tuned. We'll get this trough finished and we'll move on to the more exciting things. Why do these projects that I get involved in always escalate so quickly? This was supposed to be fairly straightforward. Looks like it's been repaired before, or it's quite clearly been welded up previously. I thought it was just silicone and filler, but there's actually some big old welds underneath there, but it actually looks like whoever welded it up last time has also used a bronze filler, which is quite nice. But somebody else has obviously had a go with what looks like gas welding, I don't know, but it looks like a bit of a mess, and it clearly isn't going to hold water. It doesn't look very strong at all. There's no welding on the inside of this side, and it all just looks quite poor. But the worst thing is that top lip isn't level. And I'm wondering if I grind all this back, cut along that horrible gas weld, and cut enough of it that I can actually warm it up and clamp it down and bend it and pull it down into position. Now, cast iron doesn't typically bend, and I'm going to be putting a lot of stress on certain areas trying to do that. I'm not sure it's worth it. I think I'm going to grind down all of the welds that are on there so they're smooth, cut out that horrible gas welded bit, see what I'm left with. Damn it. Things have got quite a bit bigger, but hopefully we can save it. It's just how much time I can dedicate to trying to save this thing. Let's see.
Okay, that is quite enough preheat. It's all nice and warm. I can try and start to weld it. And yep, you can probably see already by all of the sparks and splatter that's coming off of it, it's welding just as badly, if not worse, than the other side. I'm trying to do a little weld at the top to hold it in place because there's quite a bit of pressure from me clamping down that top lip. I think that's maybe what has caused so many issues on this side. Me clamping it down, trying to level it up is just putting a lot of pressure on that whole area, and it's just wanting to crack and sort of break apart again. But slow and steady, I've tipped it up on its side to give me a fighting chance to do a horizontal weld, but it is more of the same. Welding until it gets a horrible contaminated area, then stopping, grinding it all back out, welding back over it, slow and steady, trying not to get it too hot, but also not letting it cool down too quickly. It's a big old juggling act, a lot of grinding, a lot of welding. It's very repetitive and just very slow and steady. It's messy, but I think I'm getting somewhere. This was really the best I can do. I'm quite pleased with it, but it was not easy. You can see the difference in colour from the brass from the previous repair to my bronze, which is the warmer colour. I thought that was quite interesting. One last job is to cut off this old water pipe that's been bolted onto the end of the actual trough. So I'm just cutting that off, clearing it out the hole. I've cut a piece of steel that fits inside the hole. Then I'm just welding that in place. That's quite straightforward because I'm actually welding a new piece of steel, which is quite nice for a change. So this was actually a fairly straightforward bit to just weld that round in a circle, plugging up that hole, little grind down, and we're done. Get it on the forklift and get it out the workshop.
Success. It's done. It's not pretty, and it was an absolutely horrible thing to weld. It was probably, honestly, one of the worst things I've ever had to weld. It was miserable, but it's done. I've put it up by the house. It just needs to fill with rainwater now, and I'll report back in a few days, and we'll see if it's going to hold water. Right, on to the next job. That's going to be the Defender. I'm going to give it a pressure wash first, give it a clean, bring it in the workshop, and then we can chat about what we're going to do to that, because that is in need of some love. You may have seen my pickup, my 110 pickup, but I've had this actually for longer than the pickup. It's always good to have a spare, isn't it? Especially when Defenders are concerned. Now, okay, the first job for the Defender is it needs an oil change. Nice and straightforward. I don't have an oil sponsor like a lot of other YouTubers, so I had to go and buy it. But we're going to do a very quick oil change. But that's not the main reason why it's in here. But I'll get the sump plug off, drain the oil, change the filter. Whilst that's draining, I'll tell you what else is going on. It has been less than 10,000 miles since I changed the oil in this, but whilst it's here, why not? Since I've owned it, I've changed the oil at least every 10,000 miles. So fingers crossed, try and look after this engine. Right, the main issue with why the Defender is in the workshop is because the reverse light isn't working. So we're going to try and fix it. I have never done this before. I've never taken this apart in this gearbox area. So we're all learning together. I'm sure some of you are watching who have done this will be screaming at the screen, shouting, telling me I'm doing it wrong, and I apologize in advance, but I'm on my own journey of discovery. My first option was to look at the actual bulb and the bulb holder at the back. That's all fine. And all the wiring in the sort of that area all looks okay. So everything is pointing towards the reverse light switch, which is on the gearbox. But I'm in the car because from what I could work out online, the reverse light switch is at the very top of the gearbox and you can't get to it from underneath. The best way to access it is, I'm hoping there's an inspection hatch in here. So there's no middle seat on this Defender. It's got a little cubby hole with a little couple of cup holders. I think if I can get that out, get the carpet out, hopefully I'll be able to get to the actual sort of sheet metal and there'll be a removable panel. If there is a removable panel, whether I have to take the seats out, I don't know. But I'm hoping there's an access panel under here that means I can get to the top of the gearbox and gain access to that reverse light switch. I've ordered a new one. It turned up yesterday, so we're in good shape if I can gain access to it. See how much of the interior we have to take out to get the carpets out to find this inspection hatch, if there is an inspection hatch. Surely this can't be that straightforward. I've taken 4 bolts out to take the cubby hole out and flap the carpet out of the way, and there's an inspection hatch right there. It can't be that straightforward, can it? Well, let's not jinx it. Let's see if that rusty screw comes out, get that removed, have a look what's underneath. If it's this straightforward, I'll be so pleased. Right, so in here, in there it is. I've got 2 options now. I can either try and get a spanner in there from this angle, which is a bit of a nightmare, and fight with it for a bit, or go further forwards and hope that there's another inspection hatch, but that looks like a whole world of problems with 2 gear sticks, a handbrake lever, potential center console, molded carpet up and over. That could get into a much bigger job. So I'm going to try and fight now with this for a bit, see if I can get a spanner on it and get it removed from this back inspection hatch. Fingers crossed, wish me luck. Meanwhile, the oil is still dripping and draining out the bottom. It can do that for as long as it likes. The switch is about there. I couldn't get in, and it's where that, almost where that lump is there. I couldn't get in with a spanner. I couldn't even get the wire disconnected. So I did take the carpet off, but I've gone and undone all of these bolts around the edge, and under there, the switch is right, literally right there. Right, you're gonna have to take my word for it. The switch is just underneath that bit of plastic, but good news, I think I can get to it now a lot easier. That was a good decision. If anyone's watching this video as some kind of tutorial, take the front cover off, it's much easier. And there it is. It's out. And it looks absolutely fine from the outside. Cannot tell. Who knows? That is it. Just got that little ball on the end, which is the switch. See that moving ever so slightly? With that front inspection panel removed, it is a million times easier. It's literally right there. So the old one is out, the new one is in. I'm slightly concerned now that there was actually nothing wrong with the old one because it looks absolutely fine. I'll test it with my meter. But I mean, I'm in here now, so I've put the new one on either way. At least I know it's new, which makes me slightly nervous. I hate electrics. If this doesn't cure it, then hey, I'm putting some oil back in it and leaving it with no reverse light still. Till Brother Dan comes back. That's probably what we need, isn't it? This is a job for Brother Dan. Let's not lose faith yet. This may still work. I've just lost a little bit of hope, as that other one looks fine. I'll screw this back together and we'll see where we are. Okay, let's get it back on. We're all good, no leaks. But the big question, does the reverse light work? No, I don't think so. I'll pop you down, you can see first. I'll be inside. Was it on? I'm gonna have to cut this and have a look to see if it was on. You will know before me, this is hilarious. It was! Yes! Success! I'm so chuffed. That was really not that bad of a job. I've been dreading that for a long time. And this has been a pain. Let me turn it off. I have been warned that it's a bit of a pain doing this job, so I've been putting it off for a long time, and every time I'm driving this trying to reverse at night, it's a nightmare. It's so dark down here, there's no street lights, you can't see a thing. It wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad at all. So now we've got new oil and filter, reverse light is working, we are good to go. Yes, oh, I'm so chuffed, I'm so pleased. Brilliant. See, this is having these distractions and not being able to put anything on the floor in the new machine shop is good. I'm getting things done. I'm ticking things off the list. Wendy's got her new trough that's filling up with water. It rained last night, so it's got some water in it now. Not a lot, though. The Defender, the black Defender is now all good. Reverse light, new oil and filter. We're looking good. What's next? Whilst we're ticking off the jobs. Actually, I know what has been looming for a long time. The tractor. Yes. Right, let's do the tractor next, because we've got more improvements to make to that. This is good. We are making some progress. See, this is the problem. I spend more time pushing this thing around than actually driving it because it just won't quite start. But I think I have found a solution. The parts are up at the house, so I'm gonna have to go and grab those, and I need to get a new card because this thing is flashing at me saying it's ran out of memory. So I'll see you in a couple of seconds, but for me it'll be a few minutes. We're gonna get the little BMC firing up nicely and starting on the button. I hope. It is an entirely new day. A couple of days have actually gone by since I was down in the workshop, but I'm back. And that short trip up to the house has suddenly turned into a few days, but I've got the parts. Brand new 12 volt glow plugs and an easy one, a couple of gaiters for the 2 gear sticks because they're both perished and letting water into the gearbox, and I don't want that to happen. Glow plugs is going to be the big one though. These originally are, now I'm not an expert, but these glow plugs, the original glow plugs on these engines are 8 volt, I think, and there's a sort of resistor of sorts under the dash that steps down the 12 volt battery to the 8 volts that the original glow plugs put out, which means they're a little bit underpowered, especially as they're old and original, been on there since the 60s. So these new replacements are a direct fit. They'll fit in the same thread, the same hole, but they're 12 volt. So that means I'm going to have to bypass the little resistor that's under the dash. But I think that's okay. I really wanted to do this whilst Brother Dan was here because the wiring is a little bit questionable on this, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. I am going to start with an easy one though and get the gear and take off the gear knobs and get the gaiters on because that's very straightforward. Nice little warm up to get us back into fixing this tractor. Then we'll tear into the glow plugs, get them out, redo a bit of the wiring. Let's see how we go. This is a pretty straightforward job. It's just a case of undoing the gear knobs, taking it off the lock nut that's behind them, holding them in place, sliding off the old gaiters, before I can then just slide the new gaiters back down, screw on the gear knobs, and then lock the nut and the gear knob, back it up into each other. Job 1, done. With job 1 now complete, it's time to try and get the original glow plugs out of the engine, which is making me slightly nervous because they've been in there from the factory from day one, or at least for a very long time, and I don't want them to snap in the hole. So I'm going to take off the wire that's linking them all together first, get that out the way, and then keep everything crossed and be careful that these actually come out all right. I may have to warm them up to give me a bit of a fighting chance, but let's see how we get on. I'm very pleased to say that that was a huge success, and all 4 have been removed and are out without any major hiccups. Thank goodness for that. I've got them on the bench here, and as you can see, they look like they've had their day. They have been working, to be fair, but they look a bit tired, and I'm glad that I've got some nice shiny new ones to put back in their place. I got these new glow plugs from Tractor Spare Parts Limited, and they were so helpful. They've actually got a whole series of videos rebuilding one of these engines, doing the clutch, doing the brakes, loads of different things. They were so helpful on the phone when I was ordering these bits. I've got to say a big thank you to them. We'll put a link below in the description to their page so you can have a look if you're interested, or if you've got one of these tractors. Check them out and have a look, because one thing I did learn from them was that I need to remove all of the old carbon that may well be in where these glow plugs have just come out of, because over the time of using it they got all sooted up and full of carbon, and you can risk damaging and snapping the new glow plugs when you put them in there if that hole is not big enough because of the carbon build-up. So I'm going to send a drill bit in there to clean out any carbon that may have been built up where these new glow plugs are going to go. I couldn't get the drill in there, to be fair. None of the 4mm drill bits that I had were long enough. The chuck of the drill was just in the way of all of the injector pipes. So I used a little file, chainsaw file. That's worked well. So by turning the engine over, that's just going to blow anything that's been broken free, any carbon or anything like that from me filing, out of the engine, which is a good thing. So I think now I'm ready to get the new glow plugs installed. Let's do it. In case anybody is wondering, these glow plugs, when they're in the engine, when they get 12 volts, that little element on the end warms up. So I can sort of simulate that now with the battery. As I touch it on the two terminals, and that's what starts the engine. These little ring terminal crimps that I've used are from Worth, and they are absolutely brilliant. They grab onto the wire really nicely, but not only that, if you use a heat gun, the blue sort of surround is actually a heat shrink, so that shrinks down and seals that connection. Head to Worth. Tell them I sent you. This did not quite go to plan again. Everything I've watched and looked up made this look quite straightforward, and to be fair, most of it was, but I was having an issue that as soon as I connected the battery, there was 12 volts going to the glow plugs regardless of which position the key's in. Luckily, when I first got this tractor, a few of you got in touch with old books and literature and workshop manuals I'm so grateful for. So thank you very, very much for all of the help and advice and books and things that people sent in, because I just had to trundle up to the house, dig out a book, get a look at the wiring diagram. I did have to have a consultation with brother Dan. He's sadly not here anymore. This is exactly why I wanted him here. There is the little resistor which steps down the voltage to the sort of 7 or 8 volts as standard, but there's also a little relay, and I think I had wires connected that I shouldn't have had connected or something like that, so I've disconnected that and basically got rid of that relay and the wires to it, and now it seems to be working okay. That means we've made it. It's time to try and start it, try and fire it up and see how it goes. But it is dead stone cold. So let's see what happens. Give them 30 seconds, let them warm up. But it's alive again, and I've got no power going to the glow plugs. Now it's running. We're all good. Perfect. 12 volt glow plug conversion done. Yes. Oh, it's nice to end with a victory. Oh, perfect. What a victory. I think it's been a pretty positive episode. At the end of the day, the sun's setting. I've ticked off quite a good few jobs which I've been putting off for a long time. I hope that you've enjoyed this journey. It's a bit of a vlog of my week, of what I've been up to, until we can start putting some machinery on there and actually start with some proper work again. I hope you're enjoying these little updates. I'm going to try my best. I hope you've noticed as well that we are back to weekly videos. I'm doing my absolute best to make that happen. I have edited this video, so it'll be interesting to see if you've got to this point and not noticed. I'm sure you will have, because it's nowhere near as slick and polished as Dan's videos are, but I'm doing my best. I'm learning the Adobe Premiere program. I'm doing all I can to get the weekly videos back, because I know that's what you all want. I'm sure you do all appreciate it. And if you do, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out, makes it all worthwhile. I have a feeling next week we're going to be working on my 110 pickup. That needs a little bit of work that I haven't had time to do in this episode. A few upgrades, actually. I really hope that you've enjoyed watching this episode. If you've made it this far, I'm going to take that as a win. So thank you very, very much for your support. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Thank you. Take care.